It's been a long road since the original kicker christened that first pickup truck. It kicked off a car audio renaissance, and upgrading your music in a vehicle was a requirement. America's music machines became living loud over your passion, your emotion, your existence. Outdoors or on the open road, your sound is kicker.
Welcome to Kickle. Welcome to Kickle. Welcome to Kickle. Welcome to Kickle.
Oh, howdy. Delmar Hogwallop here, coming to you from outside Mildred's Bait Shop and Lingerie. Want to appreciate you all coming, giving a look-see in on the Kicker UnMasked show. Those folks at Kicker, salt of the earth, make some of the finest gear ever tickle your ear. So, mighty fine of you to come take some time off and check them out. And remember, whether you're looking for night crawlers or nighties, Mildred's is your place. So once again, hey, son, put down that armadillo and get some pants on. Oh, my Lord, kids.
Music is my passion, my livelihood, and it's in my DNA. My pals at Kicker Marine Audio gave me a chance to take the music, what I love and listen to, at home, on stage, and in the car, onto the water. Hi, this is Jason Bonham, and I want to say a big thank you to my friends at Kicker Audio for inspiring the songs and the stories behind the music that inspires America. Go overboard! This is your time.
The Kicker Quad Box is the most insane, ground-pounding, bass head-loving, preloaded subwoofer enclosure we have ever offered. It consists of 4 L7R 12-inch subwoofers. It has a total power handling of 2,400 watts RMS, and it's tuned at an amazing 31 hertz. Here to tell us more about it is Kicker's very own Jeremy Brown.
Hi, my name is Jeremy Brown. I've been with Kicker for 22 years. I work in the research and development department. In the early 2000s, I would run the Gates Bronco at shows like Daytona. We would do hair tricks, 48 10-inch subwoofers with 48 1,000 watt amplifiers. Really big build back in that day. We were able to develop some high output enclosures that were up above the 170 dB mark. We set a few world records with some of those enclosure designs and our woofers. We learned a lot about high output enclosure designs during that time, and we've been able to bring that to our product lines today. Within the last year, we introduced a new subwoofer enclosure with 4 L7R 12s that we call the Quad Box. Our Quad Box is built out of 3/4 inch birch. It's got a 1.5 inch baffle and a 1.5 inch bottom. We also use window frame bracing along with corner bracing to make the enclosure more rigid. We use a flared port to reduce port noise and increase port surface area. This type of vent design helps maximize output. We use the L7R 12-inch subwoofers because this allows you to use one KXA 2400.1 amplifier, and you still get big bass with fewer upgrades to your charging system. The Kicker Quad Box is the bass head starter kit, and if you're worried, it plays way below 40 hertz.
I'm Steve Irby. I'm the president and the founder of Kicker. Back in high school, I was playing in a rock and roll band, and needed a bigger speaker for my keyboard. And I went to my dad and asked him for 300 bucks. I remember the newspaper kind of dropped, and he says, "Is that something that we could build?" 2 or 3 days later, he came home with a book on audio, and it had plans for building speakers. We built a speaker enclosure and put an amp on it, and I played my keyboard through it, and it sounded really good. I graduated from college and went to grad school. I began to realize I don't want to be a sociologist, and decided that I was going to drop out of grad school and start a speaker company. I had about $12,000 that I had inherited from my grandparents. It seemed to make sense to use it to start a business. And so we bought woodworking tools, we bought plywood, and we got plans from the Alltech Lansing Company for building these big voice of the theater speakers that a lot of bands used. We started building those in the garage and just selling them to local bands. In 1980, a friend of mine contacted me and said that he had started a music store in Canton, Oklahoma, and there was a lot of guys that drove pickup trucks. I designed a speaker that fit just in the little wedge shape behind a seat in a single cab pickup truck and sent it over to him. And he called me back a few days later, and the guys love this speaker, we need more, and you know what they call it? And I go, no, what do they call it? And he goes, well, they call it the ass kicker. Back in the early 2000s, we got involved primarily in motocross. We were looking for ways to market our product. We began using the tagline, living loud, and so motocross went right along with that. Arena cross was a natural fit for us, wanting to live loud with motorcycles and the people that enjoy watching that type of events. We're very excited to be involved with Arena Cross and where it's going today.
Laid Bags, Hondo Miller. I mean, such a cool brand, not only with the apparel, but a lot of wall art back here. What inspired the brand Laid Back?
That's hard to say, but I think the good Lord brought us the whole concept in one night, and we decided to create a brand that really focuses on the culture of America, the old cool stuff from America, and just trying to allow people to bring those memories into their apparel or into their garage art, that kind of a program.
And I love it, and it is so nostalgic for that car culture. And you guys have got shirts, and I mean, it's really cool because it reminds you of that American muscle. And I mean, did you grow up as a car connoisseur, as a car fan, as a builder? What was your upbringing in it?
My dad was president of the van club in the 70s. Kansas City Van Club. So, he was a big custom car guy back in the day, and just, I guess it was in my blood from the early ages.
I like it. So now we're going to kind of shift our attention to this beautiful build over here. Take me through this car, which is actually yours.
Thank you. It's a 1969 Chevy Blazer. Came out of Anaconda, Montana as just a front yard piece of art that had been sitting there for about 20 years. And we decided to put it on a Speed Tech Performance chassis, which is an autocross driven chassis. So it's really designed to be driven. Yeah, we made it really pretty, but it's designed to be a performance vehicle.
I like how you call it a piece of art. I mean, is that how you see cars here at the SEMA show?
Absolutely, absolutely. They're all a piece of art, when some art's different, and everyone has their own appeal or their own how they interpret art, and we just feel like this is our way of showing kind of what we can do, you know.
So something that kind of immediately draws my attention to this car and this build is the gray exterior and kind of the maroon accents on this car. What do you like about those colors, and why go with that on this one?
You know, I was always a silver guy, and then I bought a car that was this color, and now I've painted 3 cars that color because I just really like it. It's gray, but it isn't dark gray. It's not what you see out there, and so we really just wanted a unique color. And then the guys at Interior Revolution, who are world-class interior guys, they suggested this kind of a dark maroon to go along with that color, and I had to be persuaded, but I'm very thankful that they stepped up.
Now, the one thing that I think really makes this car pop, the one thing that you can hear from all the way down in the South Hall entrance, is the speaker system on this car. And Kicker did you a big favor on this car. It looks beautiful. It sounds beautiful. I mean, tell me about the speaker system, how it really encompasses that laid-back brand.
Yeah, you know, Kicker's been supporting us for about the last 8 years. And we're just huge fans of them and of audio. And so we just reached out to Roger and kind of told him about the build and what we were wanting to do. And they loaded us up with 8 speakers, 2 subs, and the nice marine deck, the media center. And as you can hear, the quality of what they produce is amazing.
Oh yeah, you can literally hear it down the South Hall as you enter, and it is so cool. I think it's the only booth that might be playing reggae, but I love it. Very laid-back style. So thank you so much for your time and showing us this awesome car.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Enjoy your time at SEMA.
Something about your hands on the wheel, got a sexy touch. It's enough to make me and my Chevy blush so long. Take it all off of that highway, turn me on, I'll let you drive, babe. You can take it fast as you want to. Girl, little dirty looks damn good on you. Start me up, Stones on the radio. Girl, I love it when you let go. Don't waste your way in the wrong way. Get off on 4x4 play.
Program since before I got a driver's license. And I'm telling you what, no matter what you're in, they've got something for you. So even right now, my daughters, they've got this awesome little Jeep. Well, nothing works better than a bullfrog. And this Can-Am right here, although the colors have changed over the years, this is absolutely amazing. With the Kicker SSV works. This system, it'll knock your socks off. I just want to say thank you to everyone at Kicker. Thank you for the years of support. Thank you for keeping Pastrana Land rocking. And thank you for making the best product ever.
everybody, it's Tuesday night, 7:30, right here in the UnMasked studio, right here in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Do not adjust your set. Yes, this is me. This isn't a rerun. It's not recorded earlier. I've actually made it back. 2 weeks out with the dreaded COVID, but no real issues there. So I got through that like the day I found out I had it. And, of course, I had a little event I had to go to last week. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, but that was a whole lot of fun. But we got a great show for you tonight. If any of you guys are new to this show, this is where we talk about anything and everything car audio. Feel free to chime in on the chats, ask questions, talk with the people in the group. We're all out just to learn more about car audio and have some fun with it. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. So that way we know you like it and we can continue to do this. So it's a lot of fun. And like I say, give your input, things you want to see, things you didn't really like to see so much. Let us know. We're always, open to hear that. As usual, we got a great crew on task today. We've got Tim behind the camera once again. We are missing Jeremy. Jeremy just got back in today from the event we just went to last weekend, so he will not be in the studio today. But we do have the wonderful and lovely Sandy filling in, and of course we got Ernie and Bill Frog back there. So wave, everybody. It's good to see the tech crew back there. And we've got one other guest who will be coming up here in a few minutes. And then we got a guest that's going to tune in live from remote. So it should be a fun show. But I am your host and the global trainer once again. Make sure you guys, chime in. Have some fun with this. Like I say, we really like to hear from you guys. So I always got to have my notes here to make sure what's going on. We got any good questions going on before we start, you guys? We actually monitor your feed about 15 minutes before the show starts. So we see all the questions and all the comments. So we start taking registrations for the contest also at 7:15. So any good questions we had earlier? I don't think I'm seeing anything pop up there. But if you guys have any questions throughout the show, feel free to use that chat group and pop right in there. As always, we want to thank Steve and Becky for letting us do this. I mean, I don't know about anybody else in this building, but I don't want to have to go out and get a real job. I love what I do. And now that we're actually back out on the road traveling, we're going to get out and see you guys a lot closer face-to-face and in person. And we get to go to a lot more cool events, and we'll have a lot of really cool things to report on. And that'll be starting just a little bit later here in this show. But don't forget to register for prizes. We always give away stuff, give away all kinds of things. So if you go to Kicker UnMasked Weekly, let's go ahead and pull up the laptop there, Sandy. So go to kicker.com/UMweekly. You can register for the contest tonight. And this is going to give you a good idea what we're going to give away. Of course, third prize winner is going to get the EB400s, which are the wireless earbuds. You're also going to get the Kicker koozie and the gray t-shirt. Second prize winner is going to get the Tabor headphones. Now, these are a Bluetooth headphone, but they will work with a cable as well, once again, if you run the batteries out of them. But the battery life is actually it's about 20 hours. They actually do a really good job. And, of course, our grand prize is going to be the Cush NC Bluetooth headphones, and NC for noise canceling. So those headphones are awesome. Like I say just about every week, I use them almost every single day. I took them on the trip with me in the airplane, and it was so awesome. So, guys, it is really cool, and I think we got a loose HDMI somewhere. A little technical difficulties, but this is live, guys, so you never know what's going to happen. So, once again, look at the website, register to win the prizes, and some of you guys have won a couple times, so we hope that we can scatter this out across everybody. But as we get going through some of the other things here and some of the other venues that you can tune into us. And don't forget, this show is also on YouTube, on the Kicker Facebook channel. It's on our Instagram feed. We post all kinds of stuff about the show there as well. And, of course, it's on our Facebook page. So as we look down here at the computer, go ahead and pull my computer up there, Sandy. So our good old Kicker YouTube channel. Apparently, we're not getting a live feed, but we got a great YouTube channel. We've got all the videos posted. If you missed any of the UnMasked TV shows, you can go back and you can watch some of the things that you've missed. There's all kinds of learning videos on how to wire things, all about products. And here again, there's so many cool things you can learn just by doing a little research on the website. So that's going to be the Kicker YouTube channel, which is just chock full of great learning videos and tutorials. Not to mention, if you get into the Facebook page, all the posts with everybody, all the cool builds. I mean, we just really got a great meeting. We got to thank Big Bill for that. He is awesome at doing that. And, of course, I got the guys over here dialing in so we can actually get this video back up on screen. Now, I don't All right.
So he had the adapter unplugged.
I had the adapter unplugged. Apparently it was my fault, guys.
John did it.
I had the adapter unplugged. All right, so if you could pull the laptop, we're going to try this one more time. Hey, it is live, like I say. Anything can happen. I might actually know what I'm talking about once in a while live, and that'll scare everybody. So there we go. So here's the grand prize for tonight is the Kicker NC Bluetooth earbuds. Second prize is going to get the Tabor 2s, which are Bluetooth, but they're not noise canceling. And the third prize gets the EB400 wireless earbuds. And of course, everybody's going to get the koozie and the t-shirt. So we go back over the Kicker YouTube channel. Here's where you can scroll down and you can watch all the little shorts. And Bill has done a great job of taking the shows and cutting them down into little segments. So if you don't have time to watch the whole thing, you want to seek out specific areas, like when do you need a key lock, when do you don't, down here. Got Robert High Five Egg on here. There's a lot of really good learning educational videos. And of course, all the Unmasked Live are on. Technical support videos, how to wire things, how to troubleshoot, and just, general, Kicker knowledge and car audio knowledge as well. So it's a great place to learn stuff on the Kicker YouTube channel. And of course, we wouldn't be Kicker if we didn't have a great Facebook channel as well. So the Facebook channel, once again, you guys are seeing the exploded view of the L7X woofer. That is going to be awesome. It's getting closer, not to get you guys too excited about something you haven't seen yet, but you've seen it, you just haven't got it, but that will happen very soon. So if we go to the Kicker Club site, we've got all kinds of different topics, all the events. And actually, let's scroll down here, upcoming events. Yep, see, we tried to shut that off earlier. Jason, quit texting me. That's like 40 today I've gotten from you, if you're watching. So I know you probably caught that, hey, I got him on screen. Well, that wasn't really the thing we wanted to do. Let's go back here to the Kicker Facebook page real quick. Now, this has got some great information. In fact, this is a real neat post that Bill just did. And, just here again, great use of materials on these builds. I just absolutely love it. And, yep, those are no longer wheels. I've seen that vehicle in person, and it is absolutely crazy. It is way too much fun. So great build there. But as we go back to the main page here, and I scroll back up, click on more. If you go to events, that's going to tell you guys where we're going to be and what's going on in the car audio world and what's going on with Kicker. Now, obviously, tonight, upcoming is going to be the Amp Dyno show. And you got Big D's going to be in the house just a little bit later, and we're going to do some amp dynos. And if there's anything you guys want to see, any particular models of amplifiers, make sure you chime in. We may not be able to get them on tonight, but hey, this is a live show. We can come back and do it again just about any time you want. But this Saturday morning, if you're in the Stillwater, Oklahoma area, we're going to do our Cars and Coffee right here at the Kicker facility. You want to come and look at a bunch of great cars and, hang out with some people, have some coffee and donuts, and we've always got raffles and door prizes we give away. It's just really a great place to come to, and that address is 3100 North Husband Road here in Stillwater, Oklahoma. The gates open at 7. We usually get set up and start rolling about 8 o'clock, and usually goes to about 11 or 12. It just kind of depends on the day, and sometimes people actually hang out even a little longer than that. But feel free to come out and have a good time and come check out all the different varieties of cars and just people that want to get together and enjoy their automotive sport. So as we go down a little bit deeper, Saturday at 10 a.m. in Newport, Tennessee, we've got Bass Wars. Now, what's really interesting, you talk about having a lot of Bass Wars competitions. Also this Saturday at 11 o'clock, just an hour later, in fact, maybe with the time change, it's the same time. I'm not even sure where the time change is. But in Biloxi, Mississippi, we've got another Bass Wars, Team Straight Bass on the beach. That should be a great bass contest as well. And yep, once again, this Saturday at noon, we've got another Bass Wars, Time to Shine. And that's in Sioux, Nebraska, it looks like. So we cover a wide gauntlet of shows across the whole continent. And like I say, if you get a chance to get out and watch some of this stuff, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And if you guys haven't, it really is a lot of fun. Bill, I don't know if you're listening, if you can yell up to me. I think you mentioned something else that's going on this weekend. SQology, was that right? Yep, in Frisco, Texas, SQology. So that's kind of the other end from Bass Wars. That's going to be the sound quality version. But another great contest to get to, and you've got a lot of great Kicker competitors out there as well. So all kinds of cool things, and we cannot forget to mention Kicker Club, the world's largest Kicker group. This was started by our good buddy Andy. Get on here if you guys have questions about, products, kicker products or any other product, wiring. Jump on here. I was actually sitting in a meeting looking over Ken's shoulders. We were watching something else, and he's on here answering questions while we're in the meeting. So we do watch these sites. Ken gets on there quite a bit. I get on there. Joe Hobart, which you saw last week, he also helps out. Just a lot of us pitch in and just for fun to try to help you guys out because we really do this as fun. So make sure you guys sign in and be a member of the Kicker Club, and don't forget to watch Living Loud with Andy, little live talk show that's on after this. He recaps everything, and they go over a lot of cool subjects and sometimes a lot more in depth than what we do here on this show. So that's pretty awesome. And you can't forget the Kicker Instagram page. Bill is constantly posting, really cool pictures. And I'm not going to pull up the picture on this one right here because I got some other pictures on that we're going to show here in just a minute. But great pictures, always just exciting, fun stuff. So what I really want to do right now is, we talked about the fact that we're finally able to travel. And I think we're not quite done with the computer yet, Sandy, so don't switch over yet. But we've been allowed to get out and travel. We've done a couple events. We've done the Knowledge Fest in Indianapolis. We're getting ready to do one in Orlando, Florida. We're hitting a lot of events. I'm going to be up in the Pac Northwest. That's going to be the May 9th through the 14th, I believe it is, at an event up there. Of course, we're going to do the Slamology. That's going to be in Indianapolis again. That's in June, like the second week in June. But I want to talk to you guys real quick and let you know a little bit about the event that we just went to, and that was the Desert Storm in Lake Havasu. And if you guys are still on there you are. I'm going to pull up some pictures. I'm going to show you guys kind of what we do at these events. If you guys have never been to one of the events, this is the booth that we set up for this event, and we were the title sponsors of the event, and it really is a lot of fun. And we take all kinds of vehicles. You see that double-decker pontoon boat. I'm going to show you some pictures of it a little bit closer up here in a few minutes, but that has over 30,000 watts of power on that pontoon boat. In fact, you don't see it in this picture, but up on top they actually have a little Honda generator when they're out on the water just to keep up with the current draw of that huge, absolutely incredible kicker system. But of course you got the little UTVs there. Those things are absolutely loaded up with kicker gear, with all the graphics. Gator Wraps does all our wraps. They're located in Lake Havasu, and I think they're also got a location in California. They're the ones responsible for wrapping our Semi as well. And the Semi can be seen in the right corner that you see the awning for the Semi, which was really nice to have under the sun. The day that I got out there, which was on Thursday, it was 102. Now, the next couple days, it got a little bit cooler. I was expecting really hot. It was about 68 to 70 degrees on Friday with about 20-mile-an-hour winds, and it was a little chilly out on the water. But it was still just really a lot of fun. Here's another view of the booth from a different angle. Once again, you notice the three different ATVs there. We had the Chevy truck out there with the 615s vented with the 32400.1s. And we had this boat. And this boat was done by Wired for Sound in Lake Havasu. This is probably one of the best sounding boats I have ever heard in my life. And it's a little difficult to get in and out of when you're a short, fat boy like I am. But, no shortage on power, 480 horsepower sitting behind the seat. But look at all the KM drivers in this. I mean, I lost count. I mean, you got the 6.5s in the back, you got 8s surrounding the driver. And then as you look in front of the driver's seat, there's another pair on each side of the bow area. And here's a great view looking down underneath the bow of the boat. Now, these boats have a lot of room in them, so a lot of room for some really great sound. So I crawled my little fat butt under there, and here's actually a view of the left side of the boat. I'd say it's the passenger side, but it'd be the driver's side on a car. But once again, all the LEDs, I mean, just incredible work was done on this boat. But as you get underneath the bow of that boat, underneath that long fiberglass hood, you see a multitude of kicker amplifiers. In fact, there are 12 KX amplifiers in this boat. In fact, there are 4 Comp Q 12-inch subwoofers in vented enclosures down in the very nose of this boat. And I got to tell you, this thing hit and it played unbelievably low. And on the right side, another bank amplifier. So you had 5 amplifiers on the left and you got 7 amplifiers on the right. So a ton of kicker power in this boat. And there's another view of those Comp Q woofers. If I remember, I think Jeff that we had on the show a couple weeks ago, he's the one that did this install. And under that back bench in front of that huge V8 engine is another quad set of Comp R subwoofers. So 4 more 12s in the back of the boat with that huge vent right in the center. So yeah, this boat was absolutely just astoundingly good sounding and unbelievably loud. And as we mentioned, the pontoon boat, this is a double-decker pontoon boat. And, there's at least 20 speakers that you can see in this one picture alone, with all the coax drivers and all the cans up on the second deck firing out across the water. And you talk about an amplifier rack. I mean, amplifier stacked 3 high and 6 wide, and that's not even all of them. So once again, this boat has in excess of 30,000 watts of power and got that nice little serving area that the amplifiers are built under. This boat has a pair of vented 15s up on the bow, one on either side. Not to mention a couple more amplifiers behind the captain's helm. And more coaxes in the back, and another set of L710s and vented enclosures in the back of the boat. And of course, all the cans up above. So it really was a lot of fun to be out on this boat. And one of the cool things was we were one of the central events for the poker run. Now, the poker run is where they get a certain number of chips and they try to get the best hand in poker. But it was really interesting with the wind and the waves. We actually had to have all these high-dollar boats, and I'm going to show you some of them here in just a minute, that had to pull up next to us, and we had to hand them chips with a pole and a cup so they could continue their run. So we got to see every single one of the competing boats on this event, and it was absolutely amazing. Now, if you guys remember when we had Jeff on the show last week, we try to focus and, have some of the installer, pictures of some of your installed systems that you guys have done. And we featured a couple of Jeff's pictures, and we asked him on the show, well, I got to go meet Jeff in person. And I got to see his own personal boat, and this is it right here. Once again, it is absolutely just stuffed to the brim with kicker speakers. I mean, coaxes everywhere, cans everywhere. It's got 2 Comp Q12s under the driver's pedestal, and on the back side of that pedestal, you see this little slot. It is slot ported. There is a total of 7 cubic feet of airspace for these 2 12s vented. The enclosure actually extends below the deck. He saw the top of the deck off and actually dropped 3 enclosures down through the hole, slid them in place, then bolted them together underneath the boat, and then bolted the pedestal on top of that. This was absolutely, without a doubt, the loudest boat I have ever been on in my life. I mean, it was absolutely crazy. But you talk about people dancing in the streets when this thing was out there playing. And bass, yes, you can get bass in a boat. That is 4 L715s. So yeah, this thing absolutely slammed and pounded. And here again, in the back of the boat, more, KM8s and KM6s, just wherever he could put speakers, I think he did. So, and not to mention, if I remember right, this boat had, I think he had 14 amplifiers in this boat. I mean, a ton of KMA 1202s and 1201s. Now, some of the other boats that were out on this event, walking up and down the street on Thursday before the whole event happened, and if you're looking at this picture, and if you can see it, that you're not, reading incorrectly, each one of those outboard motors are 450 horsepower. So you're looking at 1,800 horsepower of, just pure raw power on these boats. So here's another awesome boat with an 871 supercharged big block Chevy motor in it. And then you get into the catamarans with the twin hulls, and these things, you could buy 5 or 6 houses in Oklahoma, really nice houses for one of these boats cost. And several of these boats had these little compartments that actually had speaker pods in the front of the boat that actually motorized up just to, play more music from the boat. So really cool. You guys really need to get out and see one of these events if you ever get a chance. And I would highly recommend, if you can, take your vacation next year and come out to Havasu for Desert Storm. I'm sure we'll be there. And I don't know if you can see this very well. The picture's kind of dark, but if you read the numbers in the left-hand corner, that says 1,550. That is the horsepower rating on that one engine. And yes, there are 2 of them on this boat. So 3,100 horsepower of just sheer maniac, marine power. And there was probably 4 more boats I saw that had twin 1550s. And if you notice the twin superchargers on all these engines, just if you're a car guy, even if you're not a boat guy at all, it's just the horsepower, the fun, the excitement. Here we see the boat sitting on the water, and all these boats, not only did you see in the walk around up and down the main street. But every one of those boats went out of the water. Here's a picture of the pontoon boat with a couple of those catamarans sitting in front of it getting ready for that poker run. Here we are actually going out into the channel. It was just a long parade of boats, and everybody was lined up on either side. This is going to be interesting. This is going to be really quick. And Ernie, I hope you've got the sound turned down on my laptop, because I'm going to play a real quick video here. I saw something out there I've never seen in my life. And here it is. It was a boat show. But if you've ever seen the guy that goes around on the little flying jet platform, he was out there and just screaming out over the water. So here's a quick, about 10-second video. So I know it's kind of off kilter. Yeah, this guy was flying around on this little jet platform, and it was absolutely amazing. So much fun to see stuff like that. And here's some of the people, lined up. I mean, we're talking over a mile long of canal with boats just jammed as tight as they could together. Everybody jamming tunes, everybody out having a good time, and it just really was an amazing show to go to. It's the first time I'd ever been to that event, and it's a good thing it was in the 70s, for temperature-wise, or I probably would have burst out into flames. I think I'm still a little red in the face from it. My nose is still a little sore, but it just went on and on and on. And finally, the last boat I'm going to show you, this is one of the last boats we saw. This is a twin turbine catamaran. So I can't even tell you how much horsepower that thing is, but I don't know if you have to carry your own jet engine mechanic with you to actually take your boat out on the water, but I suppose if you can afford this, you probably can. Now, for the poker run and some of the other runs they did out on the water, some of these boats had their own chase helicopters that would follow the boats. And the reason they have that is so the helicopter can look ahead of the boat. One of the boats out there was clocked at doing 177 miles an hour on the water. Now, that's pretty impressive in itself. But then when I tell you, we're talking 20-mile-an-hour winds and 3-foot-high waves while he was doing that. It was crazy. So if you guys get a chance, check out Lake Havasu, the Desert Storm. That's just one of the many events we're going to go to this year. So now you get an idea why we tell you guys to go to these events. And, because we're going to be there in force. If we're there, it's going to be a lot of fun, and you're going to see some really cool and exciting stuff. So we're going to go on to that next section, which I kind of started even though I wasn't here in the studios. And this is the, I don't know if you want to call it the Lemon Awards, like you're fired, especially if your job is an installer kind of pictures. But and feel free to send your horror pictures in. You don't have to put names on them. You can send your buddies in. I don't care, whatever you want to do. But let's look at 3 pictures which I found online, which were absolutely horrific installs. And yes, you're fired. So if you can't find any washers, if you're trying to put your speaker up, why don't you just use beer caps? So drywall screws through the beer caps. Now the question I have for whoever put this in, not only is like, why? But if you notice, the speakers have screw holes in them. You're not even putting the screw holes on the speaker. So I guess this person should be doubly fired. But hey, at least it's in the right, size hole for the speaker. Got to give them 1 bonus point for that. But yeah, definitely if you call yourself an installer, fail. Here's another one. The build-out door panels are getting really popular. And there's actually some companies making some pretty cool products that have just popped up. And yeah, Tim's back here mumbling. Heard something about we should do that in the Bronco. No, Tim, you can't do that. You're much better than this. But I think if you look closely, that's like some paneling that someone found maybe, off the side of somebody's house with a little bit of spray foam behind it to try to seal it. So definitely not your ace installer award here. And finally, if you can't get your head unit to stay in, just jam some gum around it. That's just crazy. Now, in fact, if it gets hot, I wonder if that actually drips over the CD slot. Or, it probably doesn't even play CDs anymore anyway. But yeah, that is some of the fails of the week. And like I say, we like to have fun with these. We're never trying to insult anyone, but it just goes to show you that when people want their audio, it doesn't care what it takes to get it done. They're going to find a way, even if they don't have the dollars to do it. So look for us in the future at some of these events. Come out and join us. And as you can see, by that Desert Storm event, it is worth going. Now, next, I think I'm going to bring up our second guest for tonight, me being the first guest. I guess I'm a guest. I haven't been here long enough. So I want to bring up my fellow colleague and trainer. I want to bring up Ken Bundy. You guys remember Ken? He's been on the show. I think he's like slacking over there at the dinner table, which we didn't use tonight. We did it somewhere else, which I had to go out and find everybody in the company. Welcome, Ken, to the show. So,
what's up?
Ken is going to be here with me. We're going to have some fun with some of this stuff, and got some questions to talk about.
Sure.
Before we get into consumer questions, like I say, if you guys have any questions, please type them into the chat box. Ken and I are here. That's what we're here to do. We're here to answer questions. But I'm going to read some of these questions. You know what, Ken, I might let you start off, with this answering question number one here.
Fire away. What you got?
So we get these from Jacob Lucky.
Customer service.
Yep.
So these are real questions that came into our customer service via email, telephone, doesn't say?
Yep, these are email.
Okay, so people that came in via email and called us via tech support. Okay?
Yep, and here's the first email we have, and he does get questions from the call log as well. So if you leave a message, some of the questions we've done in the past have been from the call log, just messages that, people have left. So I have a CXA 801 installed on my 12 Mercedes about 2 years ago. After bringing it to the dealer for a battery replacement, my amplifier is staying on all the time. I did not have this issue before bringing it in. What could the issue be? Well, there could be several different things.
Right.
Ken.
Yeah. Need a little more information. I mean, there's a turn-on signal, of course. So if it's 12-volt remote turn-on, I'd look at your remote turn-on wire, see where that's tapped into. Maybe it was tapped into a factory fuse box, and then whoever put in the battery just unplugged it while they're doing their battery replacement, and then stabbed it back in the wrong fuse or something.
And that can happen pretty easy.
So really, pull out the remote turn-on wire. Maybe you're actually using high-level inputs and you're using DC offset to turn the amplifier on and off. So again, measure DC offset on that. And that's one of the benefits of FIT technology, by the way. So if you're running high-level or speaker-level inputs into the CXA line of amplifiers, you don't need a remote turn-on wire. So we need to know what you're using to control the amplifier to turn it on and off, and to be able to give you a legit answer. But yeah,
always
basic troubleshooting techniques is really what it boils down to.
If we're here with the vehicle, and actually have it in front of us, it's a lot easier.
Sure.
We can just offer suggestions. But something else with the FIT input, some of the kicker amplifiers, when you're using the DC offset, that 12-volt turn on that you would normally send 12-volt into the amplifier to turn it on becomes a 12-volt output to turn on something else.
Right.
So if they took speaker level into the amplifier, and then they took that remote lead and say they plugged it into the radio fuse, what that's going to do, it's going to power the radio up all the time, which leaves the amplifier on all the time. You see the problem?
Right.
So make sure you know the amplifier. Like I say, if you're using speaker level input on any kicker amplifier, do not connect the remote to switch 12-volt anywhere.
If you're using it on like KX, we have the switch. There's actually a switch, so you can choose turn-on selection between 12-volt or DC offset. So make sure the switch is in the right position. On CXA, you don't get the switch. So yeah, just be wary of that.
Great question.
Yeah, and then again, I wanted to stress basic troubleshooting techniques, and that's going to be isolate. So find a point in the chain that you can stab into and measure, and then depending on your results, either work upstream or downstream. And then once you work in a logical fashion, you're going to be able to troubleshoot out any problem you have, whether it's the amplifier not turning on, whether it's funky noises, turn on, pop, etc. So isolate, maybe it's send music in through RCAs directly into the amplifier, and then either work upstream towards the head unit or
at that point it's either the head unit or something downstream.
Yeah, or downstream, so through the amplifier settings, or the subwoofers themselves, or full range speakers themselves. So
it's kind of nice you brought that up.
What's that?
Because that's going to lead into the next question.
All right. Question two.
We're going to dig a little bit deeper into this whole substitution and troubleshooting thing here.
Okay.
Said, I had 46 CS speakers installed on my 2013 Avenger with the factory radio.
46 speakers?
46 CSC. That's probably the model 46 year. It'd be nice if we did 46 of those.
All right, so speakers. CSC speakers. CS
with the factory radio. Now that's kind of interesting. It's a factory radio.
Head unit.
At moderate to high listening level, I get a distortion sound from my driver's side door speaker. If I balance the sound to the driver's side, the sound gets worse. However, if I balance to the passenger side, the sound is completely gone. I took it to a shop. They told me that the speaker wasn't blown. However, if the problem was with my radio, wouldn't it happen on both sides? Please help, Ken.
So in my years of installing, I've seen some crazy things that people call speaker distortion, and it turns out that they had loose change in the map pocket of the driver's door. They had one of the screws that held the speaker in was backed out this far, and it was actually the screw vibrating or making noise. Or just maybe all of it wasn't screwed in, it was just the whole basket of the speaker vibrating against the metal door skin. Some crazy things like that. So firstly, check installation of that speaker. If the speaker itself wasn't blown, he did say he took it to a shop and they said the speaker wasn't blown.
So obviously,
hopefully
I would think
they pulled the
would've
door
pulled it
panel
out.
off and take a look. But different shops work different ways. They may just put the old ear to him. Hey, it's good, man. Number 2 is troubleshooting techniques. So swap the inputs, or excuse me, the amp outputs, or the head unit outputs from left to right side. Does the problem move to the passenger side now, or does it stay on the driver's side? Again, isolate, then work upstream or downstream.
Well, if the problem moved to the passenger side, where would the problem be?
So it could be signal. It could be an actual fried channel in that factory head unit. Not super common.
Very uncommon, but it does happen.
I have seen
usually
before.
they work or they don't.
Also, if it doesn't move, then what we've also seen is you have a speaker wire that's slightly shorting to metal in the car. So it could be the spade terminals on the speaker itself or just barely touching the door panel. It seems to me factory head units are a little more tolerant of that. They don't actually shut down into protection right away like most aftermarket head units do. When you have a short in the factory, or excuse me, when you have a short in speaker wire outputs of an aftermarket head unit like this guy here, they usually go into protection and mute the outputs. Factory head units, a lot of times they just send out distortion on that channel.
Especially some of the older vehicles. But this being a 13, we just don't know.
Go through the install. I mean, that's all I can say.
Yeah, and it is. It's all about substitution. I mean, you can even swap the speakers left to right,
Exactly, so that's what I'm saying. Yeah, or you're saying actually pull the speakers themselves out. Again, yeah. So
or put the speaker on the bench, which who knows what the shop actually did. But,
step through it.
Troubleshooting is just a matter of, picking a target. And what I always call is, like Ken said, it's the divide and conquer. Pick something in the middle of the chain, break it there, and then see if, like switch
put
RCAs.
in a known good signal into the amp or supply it with a known whatever it is.
And see if the problem changes sides or if it doesn't. So if it doesn't change sides, then obviously it's up or downstream of where you swap the RCAs.
Work whichever direction you need to go.
Yep. So cool. The last question we have, and this is actually kind of a fun one because this has been around for quite a while, and I haven't heard this one for a while, so it's kind of refreshing.
Okay.
It says, I purchased the 47 series KSS65 component set. Awesome speakers.
Yeah.
I noticed higher listening volumes when what looked like lights coming out of my crossovers. Is this normal? Well, hopefully it's not sparks.
Well, yeah.
And it shouldn't be light either, but there is a reason for that.
It is normal. They are operating the way they should be, and that just means you're driving everything to 11.
Yeah, or 12.
Usually when you see the lights actually turn on, or the light turn on in the crossover, you probably hear your tweeters no longer are, they don't make any noise.
Yeah, or they're attenuated.
Yeah, so that's basically what it is. It's a protection circuit built in, so when you're overdriving the tweeters, it protects them. It keeps you from blowing out the tweeter. And it's a light bulb. That's really all it boils down to.
We call it the illuminated protection circuit. And the reason I was laughing about it when I was reading the question is I remember, being at an event one time and some guy came up and saw my shirt and he said, "Oh, you work for Kicker. I got some of your speakers. You got those cool lights that flash to the music." I'm like, that's not exactly a good thing.
Yeah.
In fact, in the early days, we actually took those crossovers here encapsulated in resin, just like fiberglass resin.
Yeah.
And if someone was really, really abusive, there'd be enough heat buildup in those that would actually kind of split apart. They'd actually explode.
Like if the capacitor inside the resin wanted to expand, the resin ain't stopping that.
Nope.
So like you said, they would explode.
Once again, those lights are there to protect the tweeter. If you do see your lights coming on,
I'd go over gain setting on the amp. Make sure you're not sending a clip signal to them. You're not overdriving them in that regard. But other than that, you shouldn't really ever see them come on too often.
Nope. So very cool. So that's going to end the questions of the day.
From tech
support.
So
thanks, guys, for that. Bill, Sandy, we got any questions? Anybody like typing any questions yet? I'm going to
see one already started there. Marcus is asking, how do you install an amp and a sub to a factory system? Well,
pretty easy.
Yeah, for Kicker, we actually make it pretty easy. Like we talked about just a second ago, we have FIT input, fail-safe integration technology. That means all of our amplifiers can man, I can't talk tonight. Can accept.
I thought it was just me.
All of our amplifiers can accept speaker-level inputs directly into the RCA connections. So you don't really necessarily need a line output converter with most of our amplifiers. Well, unless you have a factory amplifier in there. Then you can use CXA, and you still don't need a line-up converter, but if you're using KXA, IQ amplifiers, a line-up converter like the KISS lock or the key lock would work for you. And that'll give you that RCA connection you can then run to either the KXA or the IQ amplifiers for the CXA. This is actually a marine amp, isn't it? CXA, I'm sure you guys out there are familiar with it. Those can accept up to 400 watts per channel speaker-level inputs directly into them. So Simple as that. You can either use the Kissel or you can take a twisted pair RCA and cut it in half, splice into those factory speaker wires and then plug the RCA right into the amp, and you're rocking and rolling. Ain't much to it.
Just connect the amp to the battery, and once again, you don't need the turn-on lead.
That's right. So if you're using speaker level inputs, it uses DC offset to turn the amplifier on and off. And so in short, fit technology that we have in our amplifiers saves the installer and saves the end customer a lot of time and headache. And that's why we do it. We make our stuff installer friendly, quick, easy. No need to wire up a line-up converter. It's less product for you to pay for, and it's less time to wire up, less things to go wrong, right?
And actually, you know, the line output converters do degrade the sound quality. You know, the inferior ones,
for
the
sure.
more power you
And
put through them, the
expensive
narrower the bandwidth, which means they roll off the high and low frequencies.
And there's a, you know, we've run some tests on some of
Like
our.
on this show, we've actually done it and shown the differences.
You know what, we did. I think it was you and I, as a matter of fact.
That was over a year ago.
It's been a minute. Yeah, it was
We've
a while
been doing
back.
this a long
we
time.
need to maybe bring a bunch on. So we don't like bashing competitor products, so that's why it's hard for us to bring on maybe, you know, 5 different lineup converters and really show them. Just cover up the names or something. And we don't like treading down that path. But
you guys could figure it
that's the
out if we
idea.
just cover up the names. That really isn't fair either.
Yeah.
But you know, you mentioned the DC offset, and if you guys want to know how to measure for DC offset, just take any speaker lead with a DC voltmeter and measure from any lead of any speaker from that lead to chassis ground, and you should get about half the battery voltage on average. You know, anywhere from
a half to a quarter. Yeah, it should be 3 to 6 volts, and that's what our amplifiers look for. As little as 2.5 volts on the AC inputs or the audio inputs will turn the amplifiers on and off.
And the nice thing about that DC offset is it's independent of the volume control of the radio. It's not signal sense. And signal sense is a last resort because we won't even go to all the trouble.
So AC signal sense, sometimes when you turn the volume on the head unit down to 2 or 3, all of a sudden your amplifier cuts out completely and you're like, what the heck is going on? So DC offset is the same voltage regardless. You can have the volume on 0, amp will stay on, ready to rock. So while you order your Big Mac, you know, in the little clown head that you talk into at the drive-thru, you know,
that would
you
be
can have your
Jack in the
volume
Box.
down. You don't have to worry about your amplifier cutting off. And then, you know, as soon as you turn volume up, the amp's already on. You're ready to rock. So it's a much more dependable signal sense version than traditional AC voltage signal sense of times past.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's going to kind of bring us down to the meat and potatoes of the show. And I do want to remind you guys, got about 20 minutes left to register for tonight's contest.
El Fuego, our key amplifiers are indeed start-stop compatible. Both the 200.4.
Great question.
Yep, 200.4 and the 501 are 100% start-stop compatible. They'll play, and I mean play, like legit play, all the way down to 6 volts.
Yeah, I think
So
Joe was on
sustained
last week and
voltage
said that
of
that's
6
down to
volts.
5.5 even.
Yeah, well, I believe that's actually the threshold from some of our
Right.
OEM manufacturers is 6 volts they got to play. So that's a sustained battery voltage, not even for a certain amount of time or whatever, which is generally what you see during a start-stop sequence is while the starter's engaged and you're actually cranking the motor over, that's when the voltage sags. You could hook up a 6-volt drill battery to a key 200.4, she'll play just fine.
Yep. It may not be full power, but it's still going to play just fine.
They are
So-
absolutely 100% start-stop compatible. They will not output distortion during that time or anything. That's something we truly worked on for a while, and they pay off. You got start-stop vehicle, you're having problems with some amplifiers, use the key in them, you'll have no problems.
Cool. So, what we brought you guys all here to see it. And guys have been like,
that's
come
right.
on,
Enough
go,
of
let's
us
go, let's
rambling
get to
around,
it.
right? We
You know, we got this
goons
big
on the
old
camera here. Let's get to it, right?
big old bank of electronics in front of us. Let's do some dyno tests tonight.
Sure.
I think we're going to start off with the CXA 401.
Yeah, so how are we going to work this, actually? Am I going to sit in front and
Yep,
poke
I
at the
think I'll have
buttons?
you walk around front.
Okay.
In fact, I may walk around there with you. We'll both walk around and talk about this.
Yeah, we
and
really
have
worked
some
this part
fun.
of the
Just
show
don't
out,
sit in
but-
front of the amplifiers.
So for those that don't know, this is our Amp Dyno. We've got audio precision machines is generally what we use here at Kicker. We use our audio precision machines to measure any and everything. It could be signal to noise, it could be distortion power level, channel separation. So audio precision machines are kind of like the gold standard, to be honest. However, well, most of you guys out there really prefer the SMD81, so we went ahead and purchased one of them, and we had no problem putting our amps on there and showing what it can
Yeah,
do.
this really has become kind of the benchmark for testing equipment, and it really is kind of a
At the end of the day,
cool
what your
product.
customer perceives as being the gold standard is the gold standard.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
So-
it's not the audio precision that we use, but we just want to show you guys, you know, kind of where our amplifiers stack up, and you know, it's not always about, you know,
What do I know? Quit saying
dollar
no.
point. I know. I got to quit doing that. You know.
All right, so what we're going to actually do here, guys, is roll through the whole setup because we're actually going to switch out and do a few different models for you. So we're going to roll through the whole setup here, and we want to start by gain matching. We want to know where the gain needs to be set. We want to know where our head unit distorts. So this has a built-in DD1 Plus into it, so that's what we're going to use. Go to the DD1 Plus setting. It tells you what you need to do. You need to go over to track 12, my man. So I will go over to track 12 on our head unit.
And it really is pretty self-explanatory, but this is the full setup. You guys generally, a lot of times in the videos that, Dereck does, you don't get to see the whole process to this, and it's really not bad at all, but it just kind of is interesting to make sure that you have everything set up completely right. So I see some lights coming on there. Ken, what do we got?
Are we on high level in? Is that what we're doing?
Nope, you're on low level in.
All right, so it's telling me we're distorting pretty early in this output, John.
You got that.
So you guys can see we have signal detected. 40 hertz is being detected by the AD1, and as I turn volume up, you'll start seeing the distortion light clip on. That is a little higher than we had it before. What's going on, John?
Yep, that's what we don't want to see is the distortion light when we actually go through the test because we want to.
Distorted level. Press next when finished. Did I not do the right test?
I just say we might have the wrong track.
Yeah, all right. So mute signal. It's freaking out.
And it is live, so we're still going to have some fun here.
All right, let's go over to DD1 Plus, hit enter.
All right, now track
set head unit.
12 or 13. 12 is a lower frequency track.
Volume to minimum first. That's what it is. I didn't start with volume on minimum.
Now we go to track 12. And it is kind of fun to do this, guys. I mean, that's why we don't mind doing this.
Read all the instructions first.
Yeah. Follow.
Now I'll turn it to max. You'll start seeing, all right, now I got signal detected, and it flickered there for a second.
Where are we at there?
We're still only at like 25.
And it's amazing how this stuff works perfectly right before the show, and then we get in here. Well, let's go ahead and just, if it's at the clipping point, go ahead and back it off.
I'm going to try one more time because I think we actually had our high level outs shorting to the back.
If it was touching the back, yep,
yeah,
that may be.
They were all jammed in.
So we're all the way down on the volume?
Yeah.
No. That's why we wanted Colin here with us, because he's the dyno expert. And Derek's probably rolling his eyes in the background before
well,
we
what
get
he's probably
him.
doing is, hey, I've been through all this before. He has a lot of time on it. He's like, I've made every mistake there is to make with this thing. I'm sure. Fortunately, he gets the benefit of not having to do it live. So yeah, tracks on minimum, then press next. Now, adjust head unit to max undistorted level. It's still doing it.
All right, well, let's just go to undistorted right there.
Volume 23 is undistorted, so we're going to hit next when finished. And adjust amplifier gain to maximum. I think it's actually already on maximum. Somebody already had it on 11. Cranked it to 11. All right, so that is maximum.
Actually, we probably want to start with the amplifier gain on minimum.
Following what it does. Change track to 14.
You see the screwdriver.
And press next, because now you're going to dial it back, John, I think. Yeah, it's not.
Let's do this. All right. Let's go back and do the DD1 again.
That's what it was doing.
I think that's what it is. Someone came in here and cranked the gain up on the amplifier all the way. All right, DD1, enter. All right, track 12.
Man, we're a couple of rookies out here. See, Dereck is like, this is what it takes to be a pro, man. You guys got to know what the heck you're doing first.
And to be a good video editor.
Yeah.
All right.
Minimum track 12, hit next. Now we should be able to crank it up. That is exactly what
That's what was going on. Remember, just follow the instructions.
All right,
and
so
one step we missed, and it made all the difference in the world.
We knew that this particular head unit didn't distort all the way on maximum volume as long as we were running
through the
low-level
RCA
outputs out. Yeah, if you run high-level out, it does distort prematurely. So now we're good. Anyway.
Then we'll follow the prompts.
Go ahead and crank gain to max now.
And we're going to look for...
It's going to go all the way up first. And now we're going to hit next. Track 14, hang on there, John. We're going to keep it on maximum. And now we're going to hit next, and now you should be able to set your overlap. What do you want to use, 8 or 10 dB?
Yeah, let's use 10.
All right, so what this does is it controls how quickly, essentially, the AD1 will count up. It'll count up nice and smooth as long as you're using a decent overlap. So we're using 10 dB overlap for this particular test, but I mean, if you were to use 8 or whatever, it's not going to affect the power output numbers. It just counts up a little, a little less cleanly, so to speak. So we'll go ahead and hit done. So now mute the track, and it should bring us back to the main menu. Our gain is set. We know where our clipping
Well, let's start off with certified.
So we're going to do a certified run, and well, this is rated for 1 ohm. So we're going to go ahead and just, what do you think? We'll just jump through 1 ohm right now?
Yeah,
'Cause we
let's
got
just
some
go right
amplifiers
to
to
it.
get through. So let's go ahead and just knock out what everybody wants to see, right?
Now,
All right,
certified, for you guys to know, the certified power is going to be up to 1% THD, which is basically where all the amplifiers are rated.
Exactly. So you'll get at least the burst sheet that we put in every amplifier box. You'll get at least that power output at the certified run.
So not to full clipping, but just to 1%.
It's a CXA 400.1, 1 ohm load, and it says play track.
Sorry,
4,
Ernie, didn't hear you.
Which is your 40 hertz. And pause. So now you go ahead and start dyno, and then you can unpause the track, and we'll get our results.
Let her rip, and watch this number right here if you can read it.
Counting up. We're rated
Exactly
at
what it's
400
supposed-
watts. We rated at 400 watts at 1 ohm, and we are at 504 at 14.34 volts. So this amplifier was rated for 400 watts at 14.4. You know, if it was 14.4, we probably would have gotten 515 watts or whatever. The point is heck, that's
25% more.
Yeah, 25% more power, and that's a certified run. So, well,
Let's run it certified 2 ohms, just for fun.
Okay.
Might as well go back, and pretty quick and easy, just to show you what this amplifier will do at a 2 ohm load.
2 ohm load. I'm going to reset our track here. And start dyno and unpause the track.
And watch that number
so it's
right
rated
there
at
again.
300 watts into 2 ohms. And we got 311.
So
311 watts into 2 ohms, 14.44
still
volts.
plenty of power. Now the
Right.
advantage of
Little
that,
overrated,
if you're going to, you know, a single
Little
dual 4 ohm
over our
driver
rated amount,
at
yep.
2 ohms with the coils in parallel, you're going to get 300 watts to that speaker. You can add a second one with the coils in parallel to that for a 1 ohm load, and each speaker is going to still get about 250 watts, which is still going to give you about 3 dB more output overall.
Yeah.
So now
Well, we want to see something that's maybe more. You want to do uncertified run?
let's
or
do
you just wanna go-
uncertified.
Okay, so let's go to
So
the
certified 1% THD, uncertified 10% THD. So this is actually pushing it clear to clipping. So Dereck, I think we're going to bring you on, and you can make some comments as we go through. Dereck, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show.
Hey,
There he
everybody.
is.
Big D, what's up, bud?
Thanks for having me, guys.
So
This
was
is
that a
fun.
rookie mistake we made earlier?
Hey, I've never done that before. I have no idea what happened.
Exactly.
I
I knew
figured.
better. I knew better.
Yeah,
Dereck,
no.
how long you been doing dyno testing?
Well, you know, Steve just posted a picture today of the dyno. His first dyno was 9 years ago. So I got mine about 6 months after he got his first one delivered from Tony. So it's been about 9 years. Now, before that, actually, I got something to show you guys. I thought people would like to see this because I haven't really shown it off before. So back before the good old Amp Dyno, I put together a little resistor bank. How you like this? Little 50-watt resistors.
Yeah.
Wired into some banana plugs there, some binding posts. And that's how I originally tested amps. And what I used was an oscilloscope, and I used a DD1. Now, the reason I used a DD1 is because this can detect 1% THD, and that's when the little red light comes on at the top where it says distortion. So in essence, I had a homemade dyno in the beginning. Now, the problem with that, of course, is, you know, I'm using these resistive loads that I have to rewire every time. I'm using this and a scope. It was a really big mess. So I decided, you know, it's going to be better if we just go ahead and get the dyno, and that way everything is all together and we won't have any issues with the testing. So that was about 9 years ago. Sorry, that was a long response to your question.
Oh, no, that's fine.
that's all good.
What made you want to get into this? I mean, really? I mean, car audio? Come on.
Yeah, and that's a great question, John. So I've been in car audio since probably the late 80s, and I was always fascinated with amplifiers and, of course, subwoofers, but power output for amplifiers to me, in a lot of ways, it was like a mystery, right? Because you had some amplifiers out there that you know that they were not the rating that they were putting out. You know, 50-watt amp, you knew that amp was a lot more than 50 watts.
It's
and
been
vice
like that
versa.
since the beginning. Yep.
Right.
You've always
Vice
had
versa, you had the
amplifiers that
ones
either did way more or way less.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess combing through that mystery and you know, collecting 12 to 15 years ago was pretty cheap. You could go to eBay and get, used amplifiers for almost nothing. So I just started building up some amplifiers and started doing some tests. And then people, just like they do here with you guys, started leaving comments. Hey, can you test the XYZ? Can you test this brand? And then it got to the point where people wanted to see the new amps. They said, well, hey, we don't know that we trust, this manufacturer to see if these numbers are real. So for me, it's more or less, I call the Amp Dyno, the lie detector, because that's really what it is. Like you said earlier, it's not an exhaustive test on the amp. It doesn't give you signal to noise ratio, doesn't give you frequency response, channel separation, damping factor, all the things that the Audio Precision will. However, it gives you the power output, and it's easy to use. And like I told John earlier, a lot of people want to see the 0 to 60 time, the quarter mile time. They don't care about all the other specs. And I think that's the reason why the Amp Dynos are so compelling to the consumer, because they can watch the numbers count up, and then they can compare A to B to C to D just, by the numbers.
Yeah, and I know you've obviously been doing audio about as long as I have. Back in the old days, there really was no structure how anybody rated anything. And then
still very little.
Seeing a video, and I can't remember if it was you that did it, but someone was doing an Amp Dyno test on the invasion of the Chinese amplifiers.
Yeah.
Was that you that did that?
Yeah, I did some of those. Some of the small ones were, again, 400 watts, it said, and it uses a little wall brick that went into the wall that was like a 5-watt power adapter. So, the problem is, us as, I would say, educated people within the industry, we can sometimes assume that people are supposed to know that this is not accurate or this is not true. But we have to understand that people come in and search for products based on power and price and things like that. They don't take all this in, to account. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that if somebody searches on Google or YouTube for XYZ amp, that they can find my video and find out, hey, this is what I'm getting versus what somebody says you're getting.
And what it's going to cost you.
And what it's going to cost you, yeah. Yeah, but I mean, you guys know, ever since way back in the 80s, they've always bloated the numbers, and you've had the amps that are 3 feet long that have the circuit board that's about this big. So it's nothing new, but it's fun for me. I'm actually glad they do it because it gives me content to make.
You just gave me the fail picture for next week will be one of those amplifiers, I think. Yeah. That's got
I've got some gut shots if you need them, John.
Yep. Hey, anything you want to send me. I've seen some of those amplifiers with diamond plate. It's people, it's a heavy amplifier. It's got to be really good. But they actually put steel plates in the amplifiers just to make them heavier. It's just some of the dishonest stuff people do. But you're completely right in the fact that that this does show you the power, the true dynamic power of the amplifier, but it doesn't tell you all the other stuff that goes on, the protection circuitry. And I think something we're talking about doing, and it might be kind of fun, is, and we can't do with this meter, is just put one of our amplifiers in a torture test. Maybe run it full power into minimum impedance, and put a laser temperature scope on it. Just run the thing and see how long it really runs. Sure. And I'd like to see other manufacturers do that to their amplifiers, because that's one of the tests we do to these to make sure they're going to stand up and do what they say they
Blast it with a sine wave for 20 minutes straight and see how many amplifiers hang in there.
I can tell you, based on the ones I've tested, there are not going to be many that will survive that long. So that goes without saying. You guys are really the gold standard for how you test your amplifiers, and the level of quality that you ensure that goes out. And a lot of people compare a kicker amp to a different brand and say, hey, this one is less expensive. And I'm like, well, how much testing and how much protection circuitry and how much time went into the kicker one, and how long is it going to last you? So there's definitely a difference when you're looking at price. There is a reason why there's a difference.
That's another thing we could do, is run through protection circuits on purpose. I could just short the outputs all day. I'll do it 25 times in a row. You'll make sure that the amplifier recovers, and we can dyno it again after that if you want.
Yep. Real quick, guys, you got less than 5 minutes to register for tonight's giveaway prizes. So that's the
This episode's flying by. We haven't done much dynoing, John. We need to get after
Well, I think, we did that 401. I think we're going to turn the show over to you, Dereck, if you don't mind. I think you got a video you're going to run through and talk about.
I got a dynamic run on this we didn't do yet, John.
Well, you want to do the dynamic?
It's all set up and
we'll do the dynamic quick while I got it wired up, and then we'll go ahead and let Dereck do his video.
So let's do track 3, pause, Start dyno. So this is going to be dynamic into a CXA 400.1.
Which is like a burst test.
Yep, it's more like a kick drum.
It takes a second. There we go.
That's uncertified run, so this isn't a dynamic run. That's what the problem was. Uncertified, we are at 511 watts. 511 watts. So again, just over 25% more than what we say. So solid run. So let's do dynamic on this guy here. Mono, got the jumper in place. 1 ohm.
Yep, you get to the point where you can scroll through that thing pretty quick. Get to the right track.
Yep, pause, start dyno. So this is your kick drum test.
How much instant? This is still RMS power. This is not a peak power rating, people.
It's not peak. 556 watts. 556 watts from the Kicker CXA 400.1.
Not bad for under $200.
Oh, it actually counted up. We got 562. 562, 14.24 volts.
Cool.
So cool
Nice.
piece.
Well, 1 more minute on the contest to register to win. And Dereck, we're going to turn it over to you. And I think Ken and I are going to put up a bigger CXA amplifier on here. You guys have made a lot of requests to see something a little bit larger. So why don't we just go full to the extreme and do it?
Let's do it.
All right. Dereck, it's all you.
All me. All right, we have the middle child, Ernie or Bill, whoever's at the helm. Can you pull up the 4 ohm mono run? Here we go. The amp, this is a CXA 800.1, rated 300 watts at 4 ohms mono. So let's run the test. Certified test first, 1% THD. And that picture, I don't know where that came from. Here we go. Can we get the 300 watts? It's counting, it's counting, it's counting. Yes, we can. 364 at 14.5. I believe that's 14.5. I can't really see. My eyes are bad. I'm getting old. 364 watts. So it definitely got the rated power. And let's go ahead and quickly reset the dyno here to the uncertified test. And I intentionally set these up to give a little bit more time in between so I could waste some time while these guys are hooking up the other amps. Uncertified, again, takes us up to clipping. We're looking for that 300 watts. And, of course, we're easily going to get it, as we show here, 369, 14.46. 371, it jumped up at the end. Again, these tests run for a duration of about 10 seconds, so you'll notice sometime at the end it will get a little bit higher number than it did previously. So we let it run for the full test. The dynamic test, again, sends a pulse tone through the amp. And let's try this out, rated 300 watts. And let's send that pulse tone in. And what the dynamic track does, what I like to say is it shows the headroom of the amplifier. So you want, amplifier has more headroom, it's going to give a little bit more power, sometimes a lot more power at that same impedance. So we got 385 watts at 14.71 volts. I'm on the lithium bank here, and I tried to let it drain down just a little bit so we could make sure that I wasn't going too high voltage, but it still stayed right around 14.7. Efficiency, I measured 83% efficient at 4 ohms. For a Class D amp, that is what we expect. That's really good, so good numbers there. Now,
yeah, boy!
Yeah, boy.
Nice.
So if we can switch over to the 2 ohm test, Ernie, we'll try that one out and we'll go through all the settings, and I'll try not to put you guys to sleep. 2 ohms mono, the CXA 800.1 is rated 600 watts at 14.4 volts. And let's start up the test. Of course, certified test first, a 1% THD. Here we go. Let's count them up.
Rock and roll.
Rock and roll.
Or just test a tone.
Did we pause? No, there we go. It
there
actually started. Here we go. We can get that 600. Yes.
634.
634. 14.41. So right at that 14.4. Looking good. Giving us what we're advertised. That's what we're looking for. Let's reset
and that's the big
dyno.
thing that we wanted to show was that they do everything we say they're going to do.
Yeah, and I mean, the whole reason this was done recorded instead of live, it's just my setup right now. I am on a temporary test bench, and I'm trying to rebuild and get a new one set up. So next time maybe I join in the future, I'll be able to do this live and make mistakes just like these guys, because it happens. 650 watts at 14.31 uncertified to clipping. Again, more than the rated power, and that's what you'd expect with a Kicker product. Dynamic power goes up to clipping with this dynamic tone. Let's see what we get here. 2 ohms again. Dyno temperature 75 degrees. Outside temperature was approximately 70 degrees. So what a nice day to do an amp dyno. 686 watts. 14.52. I didn't see it count up any higher, I don't think. Oh, see, I spoke too soon. 689, 14.51.
there.
I think that finished the test there. So again, constant numbers across the board. You know, getting your power plus a little bit more. And again, what John talked about earlier, these really survive. 83%, same exact efficiency that we got at 4 ohms, we get at 2 ohms. Again, that's really good. So let's try this 1 ohm run, and then I think these guys are ready to test
boy!
Yep.
Bigger
pretty
amp.
darn close.
All right, so 1 ohm mono, the CXA 800.1 is rated 800 watts, 14.4 volts. That's why it's called the CXA 800, I believe. Is that right, John?
Yeah.
All right,
I'm just going to agree
certified,
to whatever you say.
certified test first. 1% THD, 40 hertz track. Here we go. Roll those numbers. Roll that beautiful beam footage. Here we go. It is, oh yes, 955 watts. So look at our voltage. It even dropped below 14.4. We got 14.18. So almost 1,000, almost a kilowatt for an 800 watt amp.
Yep, that's once again 20% more.
Yeah, that's
And,
good stuff.
That's not the big thing is how much more. Just
Yeah, my whole thing is if you do the rated or just close, I mean, you got 5% tolerances, but I'd still rather, you know, see you get at least the rated power, and you guys do that every time. Uncertified, up to clipping at 1 ohm. Can we get over that 1,000 watts? Oh, check it out.
Whoa.
1,029, 13.98. So yeah, uncertified is more the number that I use. If you're using subwoofers, you're not going to hear the 1% THD. You're only going to hear the clipping. So I think it's safe to say this is a 1,000 watt amp for 800 watts price. Dynamic, 1 ohm. See what we get here. We can bust that 1,000 watts again. Here it goes. Oh yeah, check it out. We're excited. I can see everybody out there in the world watching. 1,149 watts, 14.48 volts. So there you have it, friends. A test of the Kicker CXA 800.1. Now we are going to show the efficiency. The efficiency at 1 ohm is always expected to be a little bit lower. 76%, that's still close to 80%. That's close enough to me. And again, remember, we're not using lab grade equipment. Of course, we're using fluke equipment. But there is an opportunity for it to be a little bit off here. So when I say 76, it could be 72, it could be 78, but somewhere in that range, 76%, which I think is good. So overall, the CXA 800.1 did what it's promised and delivered as expected.
pretty cool. Well, Dereck, do you remember the first Kicker amp you ever tested? I'm not going to ask you numbers or anything. But.
I do, John, and it's very interesting that you say that, because the Kicker ZR240, and I believe Gary Biggs used these back in the day. He used a bunch of these, didn't he, in his Regal?
Yeah, actually in the Regal, I think we had the XS100s or, or the ZR1000s.
Okay. Well, the ZR...
I think it was 5 of the ZR1, because he had one on each tweeter, one in each mid, and one on the original woofer. So it was 5 ZR1000s. But the 240s have been in a lot of competition vehicles.
So the 240, John, it actually surprised me, really did, because at the time, again, this is back when you could get these used amps for virtually nothing, because people didn't really know how much power they put out and what they were worth. The ZR240 did a really good job on the dyno, and I'll pull the video up, and maybe Bill can we can link to it afterwards or something, so people can go watch that and see how that amp did. But additionally, tomorrow I'm releasing another video of an old Kicker amp, the XS50, which was from around 1997, and that one was the cheater amp, right? It was the one rated 25 watts by 2 up to 600 watts by 1.
Yeah, it was the equivalent to the ZR600, but it was meant to do it at 1 ohm.
Right. So I have that video out tomorrow. So if you guys want to see what that XS50 competition series Kicker amp did from 1997, if it survived, if it
the old
performed.
Class AB.
Very not high efficiency, right, John?
No, they weren't. Definitely not. In fact, our
It's a different era.
01,000 here, we tested like 43%. So if it's producing 1,000 watts of power, it's pulling in about 2,400 watts to make it.
Different era. It's 25 plus years ago.
Yeah,
Things
but
have
hey,
changed.
that was,
Well,
that was
you
when
know-
I started here.
It's like we talked about before, you know, how many amps that are made today are going to work in 25 years. So there's a lot to say with the quality that, you know, of these when they were originally built, because if you bought it back then, they cost a lot of money, but they lasted. So I get you guys ready to test the big one, because I know people want to see that 1800.
Yeah, so folks, we're asking for it. Dyno test of the CXA 1800.1.
Actually, you know, Dereck, before we let you go, I'm going to ask you a small favor. You probably got enough amplifiers laying around, don't you? They're stacking up. It's like, yeah. Oh, it sounds like a loaded question.
You mean
you know,
this little
that
guy?
one right there. Yeah, the one that you've been testing on. We like to give stuff away, and I'm sure you just got more than enough amplifiers laying around. I think we should actually give that. That should be our grand prize winner tonight.
Sure.
And I think if you wouldn't mind,
would love to
Dereck,
give
would
away
you
an amp
sign
on his
that?
budget.
Send that back to us, or we'll send you a shipping label, and then we'll sign it here in house. And tonight's grand prize winner is not only going to get the Cush NCs, we're going to give you the actual amp that Dereck tested and he autographed.
And I'll send you the dyno sheet, because there's some additional tests that I didn't show tonight that I'm going to show in the full video. And you'll have the amp, you'll have the dyno sheet, and you'll have the bragging rights to say, hey, this was on a Williston audio channel, and this is my amp. I don't know about the signature. You may want to just mark that out or erase it or something, because I'm sure that'll decrease the value.
No,
But,
not at all.
The rest of it's
25
cool,
years from today, it'll still be working, you know.
That's right.
Just like the 240.
And again, thank you guys for having me on and for letting
Hey,
me do these tests with you and everything. This is a lot of fun.
Well, it is. It's a lot of fun, and like I say, it's always a pleasure to work with you, Dereck. And like I say, we're going to encourage you to hang out, you know, and we might need some coaching. So if you got some time, hang out. Let's just see what this big guy does.
Yeah, so this is the CXA 1800.1 amplifier. For those that don't know, it's rated at 1800 watts RMS into both a 2 ohm and a 1 ohm load. Now we do specify plus or minus 10% at 1 ohm. So
Right.
1800 certified at 2 ohms, plus or minus 10% into 1 ohm. More or less, it's the same power. You would never hear a difference in 10% power anyhow. But we'll go ahead and see what it does. And, you know, certified, uncertified, dynamic. So let's
And
go
just
ahead.
so you know, the reason for that is back we talked about efficiency. You know, at 2 ohms, where this amplifier was originally designed, it's almost at its maximum efficiency. So as you cut the impedance, the efficiency is going to drop a little bit, and that's where we may get some power drop. It just depends on, you know, stack tolerances
Hey, we're willing to put it
on
to
the
the
products.
test. We'll see what happens. So
But Ken's going to see if he can burn one down right now.
Yeah, so 1800.1, 2 ohms certified. Let's go ahead and start the dyno.
Which it should do 1800 watts. Because that's what it says right there.
There we go. We are underway.
1922.
Yes, sir. 1922, 13.5. So we're almost a volt low, and we're well overrated. Well overrated power of 1800 watts.
So that's probably capable about 1950 at, you know, 14.4, because, you know, being unregulated, it will lose a little bit of power. You're never going to hear that power decrease, by the way. And what's really amazing, once again, that's still 10% over what it's rated, so ton of power. I wish we could see what the actual current draw was on that thing.
Yeah, well, we should have set that up, huh?
It's pretty substantial.
All right, so now we're going to do an uncertified run.
Which is 2 clipping.
Yep, 2 ohm. Start the dyno.
And here in a few minutes, we will do the giveaway.
So I messed up the volume on that, I know that. I accidentally bumped the volume when I hit unpause.
I think we'll go back and rerun that one.
Let's reset.
Because it was struggling.
Reset.
Sometimes that's hard to do with those controls, is to actually...
Well, so classic head unit makes you actually hit the volume knob in order to pause.
Ken, make sure you're on track 4. Looks like you're on track 3.
Oh, yeah, you are on track 3.
I am on track 3. I thought it told me track 3.
No, you want to be on track 4. 4 is the 40 hertz.
Okay. All right.
There we are.
4. Pause. Thanks for that. That's why we kept you on there, Dereck.
We knew you were good for something. To bail our butts
Tell
out.
my wife.
It's almost like Derek's done this.
You told me not to talk to her anymore.
There we go. Uncertified.
1937.
1937. 1937 watts, 13.55 volts.
That was a good year for bourbon.
That was a good year. I had I have a Ford made in 1937. Still here.
Oh, do you really?
Sure do.
That's cool. I didn't know you were an old car guy.
Oh yeah.
I'm just an old guy.
It's waiting for a system, but it just has some other things that need to be done first.
You got a bunch of dyno testing to do.
Yeah, that's right. I've got to.
All right, we're gonna do the dynamic there, Ken.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna do the burst power on this thing.
2 ohm
At
load.
2 ohms.
Unpause the track.
Watch that number.
Yeah, she might creep up here. So
Wow.
Over 1900. Will it break?
Still
2?
going.
Oh, it's almost to 2,000 watts.
1985.
1985.
Another
at
good year.
13.75 volts.
That was the year they kicked me out of high school.
Marty McFly went back to the future,
1985.
right?
And Prince
Or was
went
it
back to
84?
1999. All right, so that was all at 2 ohms. We might as
Yep.
well go ahead and let's torture this amplifier and let's see what she's going to do down to 1 ohm.
Okay. So plus or minus 10% is what we rated it for. So
Let's see what it's going to do.
1 ohm load, track 4.
Yeah, the other thing
Pause.
people need to realize is that you guys are powering this with a power source. The dyno doesn't power the amplifier, so you have to have a
Yep.
power source.
We got a lithium battery right behind it here.
And an 80 amp power supply. And I just heard the fan kick on the power supply, so
Yeah.
we're pulling some current.
For sure. 1842, 13.59 volts.
So it didn't quite make as much power.
Well, I mean, it's 50 watts, which is
Negligible.
less than 5% difference.
Yeah, negligible, but
than
it
what it
still
was.
did rated power at 1 ohm,
Yeah,
certified.
So that's like, I don't know, 3% difference. But we are also lower on voltage. So if we had 14.4 there, you'd be right there
Probably
with it.
right in that same ballpark. Well, let's
Regardless, you're getting more or less same power out, 1 ohm or 2 ohm load, and that's again, that's a certified run.
let's hit it at uncertified,
All
just
right.
for fun.
We back out here again.
Yeah, the good thing about that power across 2 different ohm loads is that, you know, when you have your impedance rise, you're getting a lot more volume. So that's a really good thing about the way these amps are set up.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it does say track 3, does it not?
3 or 11. But he said 4, so we're going to do
yeah.
4. 4 worked.
Yeah,
That's what we did on the
I was gonna say, I
previous.
thought it was-
Okay,
I seen
so
something?
yeah, what that is, guys, is it's just different frequency ranges. But track 4 is the 40 hertz, so that's the one we like to kind of keep it
Perfect.
consistent with.
There we go.
But you can
2,000
try some
watts.
other ones just to see. But like, there's like a 100 hertz tone and a 63 hertz tone and some other ones there. That's what those different numbers are.
Interesting.
2,010 watts.
Uncertified?
Uncertified, 13.48 volts.
At 1 ohm, which is 20 or 10% overrated power.
Yeah, so you're now over anything that happened at 2 ohm.
All right, let's give it the burst test.
Let's give it the beans.
Let's slap this thing upside the head and see what
it
falls
do.
out.
Kind of more in a music setting, right? More in a kick drum setting. So more real world, to be honest.
We'll give it the old electronic slap. It's kind of like a knee to the capacitor.
All right, start dyno. Unpause. Kicker CXA 1800.1. Dynamic. Bam.
2181. And that's not peak power, guys. That's still RMS.
Yes, sir.
Root mean squared.
2181 at 13.88 volts.
I think I can live with that. What do you think?
Yeah, no complaints.
Comments from viewers out there? If you guys want, after we get done giving away the prizes here, giving away the amp that Dereck has, and of course all the other good stuff, if you guys want, let us know. We may actually throw the 1200 one up here and see what it does. I mean, we've got one out here. We might as well test them all.
All right, Ernie's yelling at us. Do it!
All right. Dereck, thank you again. Really appreciate it. Always a pleasure to have you on the show and talk to you. Like I say, hopefully we can get you back here in the studio sometime. And who knows, if one of us are out on the road, we might find one of us at your doorstep one of these days to come see what's going on. That would be a lot of fun to see how you do everything with all you got set up.
That sounds great. Again, thanks for having me on. You know, you guys are doing great stuff. Thanks for doing these shows. I think you're really reaching a good audience here with these shows you're doing and doing on a consistent basis every week. And you're obviously showing kicker products, but you're also doing a lot of knowledge training, which is very good for the customers to understand. And I think people have fun. So that's what it's all about. And just make sure you're having fun.
I think we really need to give credit to you for, wanting to do the dynos and want to, show, actual real world results, not just what manufacturers are saying. So, you're kind of one of the, spokespeople for the masses out there that, are going to prove what the manufacturers are saying to keep us on our toes. I think there was just a lawsuit not too long ago with some companies that were really not posting, actual power outputs. They were greatly inflating their power outputs, and they got spanked a little bit. So we're going to give away some things. Dereck, I think I want to have you hang out a little bit more, if you don't mind. I mean, you've got nothing else going on. I'm sure you probably have a life too, but we're having so much fun with you.
Oh, yeah, no,
I'm
this
going to
is
let
exciting.
you read the winner of the grand prize winner for the contest. We're going to give away the prizes right now. So we'll start off with the first two. And if you notice, I'm letting Ken do all the work here. It's supposed to be my deal, and I raked him into this, and here I get talking, and he just starts working. So thanks to Ken for all his help and his expert button pushing. I mean, that was pretty awesome.
I push buttons like nobody else. Huh?
That being said, I know most of the guys would like, hurry up, get to the prizes, guys. So, Bill, who is our third place winner? That looks like it is Ken A. from Texas.
That's not me.
Nope, this is Ken B. So Ken A. from Texas, you have won yourself the EB400s, the gray T-shirt, and the koozie that says UnMasked on it. So congratulations, Ken A. So number two, second prize, runner-up, whatever you want to call it. Number two is going to be Gregory B. from Florida. So thanks, Greg. In fact, it's probably a little bit later your time, so hopefully you stayed up to keep watching this. I think it's almost 10 o'clock your time. But thanks again, Gregory. Congratulations. You're going to get the the Tabers. Yeah, you're getting the Tabers. See, I'm getting all mixed up here. That's what happens when you get old. You're going to get the Tabers. You're going to get the Unmasked T-shirt, and you're going to get the Unmasked koozie, which brings us to the grand prize winner, which will get the signed, certified, and sealed CXA 800.1 from Dereck. Dereck, are you ready to read the grand prize winner that's going to get your officially autographed amplifier?
I'm ready,
It's
and I
got your
apologize in
DNA on it
advance.
somewhere.
Apologize for my chicken scratch. Who's the winner, Bill? Who can it be?
Bring it
Oh,
on.
Chris R. from Oklahoma.
Wow.
Oh, in our back door.
So that is awesome. Congratulations, Chris R. Hey, you know what? We could save ourselves some shipping and invite him to come here and pick it up himself. And you absolutely have that option, Chris. If and Bill sends you that email, and everyone that is a winner tonight, make sure you watch for an email from Bill and send us your name, address, shipping address, not a PO box, and of course your phone number and your shirt size, so we can make sure we get that to you. And also, Chris, I guess we don't need to ask for your amp size because we know what it's going to be. It's going to be an 801. So actually, I wasn't even planning on Ken just jumping in here and wiring this whole thing up, but he's doing a great job. But,
yeah,
so
a few connections to make, but we're getting there.
Congratulations to all the winners once again. If you guys want to hang out, we're going to go ahead and do this final test on the 1200 one. Then we've pretty much done everything in the CXO with the exception of the 4-channel. So
yeah, we should have done the 4
and the
channel.
5-channel.
Yeah, it'll be a different show, I suppose.
But the subwoofer amplifiers.
Let's just say it puts out rated power as well.
All the subwoofer amplifiers. So let's get around here, and we need to go through all the tests on this one. We need to go back through and set up gain on this one again.
Yes, sir, we do.
Head unit we don't necessarily need to test because we know it is going to reach maximum output without clipping at 35. So, and that's a real important thing is people just do not understand how important clipping, is to testing,
John.
and especially not to get too deep into it, but if you have a DSP and you send a clip signal into it, forget what you're going to get for an output because it is not going to be what you're expecting whatsoever. So here comes the CXA 1200.1.
Yeah, let me set it, get the
red-headed stepchild.
Still setting up, so give me a half second here.
And why don't you tell everybody what you're doing while you're doing it?
So what we're doing is we're finding the maximum undistorted output of our head unit first. So it walks you through it. You're going to play track 12, adjust the head unit to max. It'll start lighting up with distortion. If it distorts prematurely, it flickered there for a half second.
And it will. I think that's actually just a click of volume control.
Yeah, exactly. It's the potentiometer in there. So we're all the way up. It doesn't get any higher than 35, and distortion light is not lit. So 35 is going to be the value we use. We're going to hit next, and now it says adjust amplifier gain to maximum. So let's go ahead and crank that to 11.
Rip that thing wide open.
Yeah, I think I had it bumped just a tiny bit. There. Next. So switch to track 14. I can handle that. And then next. Now we're going to set our overlap. We've been using 10 dB for all of this.
And Dereck, you were talking to us a little bit earlier yesterday, in fact, about using different overlap. And would you tell everybody what the differences are? Why you'd use 8, 9, or 10? Or?
Yeah, it's really just how quick the dyno counts up. So if you want to see the numbers count up quicker, you can go to like a 10 or 11 or even 12 dB overlap. But they recommend somewhere between 8 and 10. But I found out on some amps, if you put it any less than 8, then it will not complete the full test before it gets to the end. Because what happens is it's a sine wave that starts at minus 30 dB and it ramps up to 0 dB. And if you don't have enough of that signal built in to push to the amp, then there are opportunities where you may not get the amp into clipping or to 1% distortion. So 10, somewhere between 9 and 10 is a good range, I think, for testing amps.
A lot of fun.
And if you do enough of them, like I told you before, you don't have to even do this because you know what the gain overlap is based on how quick it counts up. But I'm not saying I know how to do that. Just saying it is possible.
You do
if
know
you've
how to
tested
do that, I know.
600 amps or more, you probably know.
So CXA 1200.1 is going to be a certified run into 1 ohm.
Rated at 1200 watts?
1200 watts into 1 ohm, plus or minus 10%. So it's going to be same power. 1 ohm or 2 ohm, just like with the 1800 one. So
a little less, 1151.
Yeah, where voltage is a touch low also. So yeah, it says 1151.
And here again, that was the 1 ohm load?
Yeah, I believe it on 1 ohm. Try it again.
So like we rate it plus or minus, 10%. It definitely was within that range, within that 10% range. So that all has to do with the efficiency. So let's hit this one again. And, the interesting thing, Ken was pointing out earlier that,
1156, 14.1.
Yep. All these dyno runs are actually showing more power than what the birth certificates even show on the amplifiers.
Right.
So
yeah, the 2 ohm run. So all of our birth certificates are going to be at the rated power of 2 ohm or 1 ohm, depending on the amplifier model.
Well, let's do the 2 ohm rating.
Now, John, when you guys test your amps using your audio precision, do you have a warm-up cycle that you go through with the amp before, or you just just put it on the bench and just run it?
They do, so it'd be operating temperature.
Right, and I don't know if that I tend to do that as well, so I don't know, sometimes a cold amp may not, it may do better if you do your test and then go back and do the 1 ohm at the end.
And that's very possible.
So we're at 2 ohm, track 4, certified run. So this is going to be the 2 ohm load. You should see 1200 watts out of it if I unpause the track.
And like I said, this is all totally live. We just grabbed this one out of the box this afternoon and threw it up here.
Did.
So we don't even know what it's going to do.
And we are at
1149. Pretty consistent.
Yeah, but we're low on voltage. We're 4/10 low on voltage. So if I had 4/10 more, you'd probably be right at 1200 watts. So this particular sample is pretty darn close. And again, that's a small amount of power you would never audibly hear.
Yeah, 50 watts.
But still, we wanted to make sure that it would do.
You can hear paint dry if you can hear that.
At 14.4, it would do rated. But let's talk uncertified, huh? Let's get those numbers up. So this would be at the point where you see clipping. What do you want to do, John? 1 ohm?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do 1 ohm. It doesn't seem to matter 1 ohm or 2 ohm. Like we say, it's going to do the same power.
Yeah, it's pretty close. So we'll do track 4
and
again.
It's still a heck of a bang for the buck, for what these things cost.
Uncertified, 1 ohm load, Kicker CXA 1200.1. 1191 at 14.07 volts.
So obviously at 14.4,
if we had a couple of extra tenths of a volt, we'd be over our rated 1200.1.
And I have the power supply has kicked on, so it obviously has dropped low enough in voltage that the power supply said we need to charge back
quite
up.
A few runs before the show started. We ran I don't know, about 60. So
yeah, on that poor 400.
Well, you said what is the 80 amp power supply there that you're using? Yeah, so it's like a 80 amp alternator maybe in your car and
the JY Power lithium battery.
All right, so we're going to do dynamic, 1 ohm.
Ken's just having too much fun pushing these buttons up here.
Big button pusher. And here we go.
I like big buttons, and I cannot lie. We actually had a vehicle that Kip and I built for the company years ago was a little 98 Ranger that had a 4-inch diameter volume control.
Oh, yeah. 1173, 14.15. So yeah, we're pretty darn close to rated, and if we were at 14.4, we'd be all over 1200. But yeah, there you go. There you go.
So a lot of fun. So I do think, Ken, we need to set up the torture test sometime with like maybe the 400 or the 800 and just, run the bejesus out of it and see what it does. But
anytime.
Guys, I really hope you enjoyed the show. I know we've had some fun tonight. If you guys got any suggestions for any other topics you'd like us to cover, please let us know. I mean, that's one of the reasons we did the 1200 and the 1800. We got a lot of requests for doing that.
1800 was by demand, so
and we knew going into this that it was not going to be, earth-shattering, unbelievably, more output than what they're rated. I mean, we can always, build an amplifier bigger, but then we just have to charge more. I mean, that's just the physics of it. But these amplifiers, for their power, for their output, for their feature set, they're really, worthwhile investment, because they're going to be around a long time, and we've got one of the lowest amplifier defective rates in the industry. And, as always, we keep telling you thank you, Dereck, but we thank you for being on tonight. I think we're going to let you go this time. Not that you could have hung up on us at any point and claimed internet problems.
No. I had too much fun watching, so I do this myself, but it's always fun. And again, thanks for having me.
Yep.
Thanks everybody in the chat room there. And check me out, WillistonAudio.com. I'm on YouTube, and Williston Audio Extras is my second channel. So I'll have Kicker XS50 coming out tomorrow. So we'll see how that does.
Watch his videos. And just a quick one last question. We were talking earlier, you had some storms rolling through your way. Everything okay?
Yeah, we're good. No problems.
Good, because we had some threats of tornadoes here last Saturday.
Our sirens went off. And
45 minutes worth of tornado sirens.
Got a little crazy, yeah.
And of course, most Oklahomans are out on the porch with their phone and their cameras going, where is it?
Well, yeah, until it gets right up on your block, then you run for the cellar.
Dereck, you have a wonderful night. And as always, thank you guys for tuning in and viewing for us. And thanks to Tim and Bill and Sandy and Ernie and Ken and Dereck, and we might as well thank Jeremy, even though he's not here. He's still a heck of a part of the show.
Steve and Becky.
Yep, especially Steve and Becky. We couldn't do this without all the group of people. And thanks again for tuning in, guys, and congratulations to our winners. And Chris, if you want to come to Stillwater to pick up your amplifier, get a tour of the facility, absolutely.
Heck,
We'd love to have you.
That offer's open to anybody if you live in the Oklahoma area, you're willing to make the drive.
Yep, as long as Ken and I are around, one of us will be happy to give you a tour through the building and show you some really cool stuff. And thanks again, everybody, and tune in next Tuesday, 7:30 Central Time, the Kicker YouTube and Facebook channel for Unmasked Live Weekly, right here from Stillwater, Oklahoma. Good night.